Stories with Liv, the story of Joseph from Genesis, part 1. So we got a homie named Jacob, right? And Jacob has 12 sons. Not 2, not 69, 12. I don't need you to know any of their names except for Joseph, okay? Joseph was daddy's favorite. Like, Jacob totally favored him over the rest. And one day, Jacob was all like, Joe, I have a gift for you, my son. I'm giving you this dope grass coat. Dope grass coat? Dope grass coat. And Joseph's all like, what? And the 11 other brothers are all like, you gotta be kidding me. And then Joseph goes to bed, and the next morning he goes to his brothers, and he's like, bros, I gotta tell you the craziest dream I had last night. And they're all like, ugh. And Joseph's all like, okay, listen, we were all sheaves of grain, right? And you guys all bowed to me, and I reigned over you guys as king. Oh, piss off, mate. But you, fine. Joseph goes to sleep again, and the next morning he's like, bros, I had another dream. And they're all like, oh, great. And Joseph's like, mom and dad were the sun and the moon, and you guys were 11 stars. And let me guess, you all bowed before me. Yeah. And I reigned over you all as king. Oh, screw you, Joe. And they went off and they were like, you guys, we should totally kill Joseph. I agree. We should totally commit homicide. Yes, okay. Part 2 is Bible Stories with Liv, the story of Joseph, part 2. So Joseph's brothers just decided to absolutely ice Joseph. And they were plotting his murder like, you guys, what if we kill him and then we yeet his body into a pit? Genius, God tier, big facts, bro. But one of the brothers named Reuben secretly cared about Joseph and he didn't want him dead. So Reuben was like, you guys, hear me out. What if we, didn't kill him? And the brothers are like, bro, that's like the whole point though. And Reuben's like, see, I get that, but what if we chuck him into a pit and we leave him for animals to kill him so then we don't have to? And they're like, oh, now you're talking. Nice one, Reuben. Yeah, thanks, guys. But secretly, Reuben was planning on going and saving Joseph from the pit after they all left. So the brothers hide out and they see Joseph coming and they jump him and they rip off his coat from dad and they beat him up and then they yeet him into a pit. And then a caravan of Ishmaelites, other random people, it doesn't matter, came by on camels, and the brothers were like, ding, idea, and they sell Joseph to the Ishmaelites so they could get a little dough, a little coin out of their homicide. And isn't that what murder's really all about? Stories with Liv, the story of Joseph, part 3. So the brothers sell Joseph away to the Ishmaelites, and he rides off as their prisoner. And later that night, Reuben goes to save Joseph from the pit, but he's like, what? Where's Joseph? And he rips his clothes and he cries. Meanwhile, the brothers dip Joseph's coat into goat's blood, and they take it to Jacob, and they're like, Dad, Joseph was eaten by wild animals. Isn't that so sad? Dude, shut up. So sad. And Jacob's like, no. And the brothers are like, hell yeah. So the Ishmaelites actually sell him to this Egyptian officer named Potiphar. Hey, Potiphar. Hey. Now, God and Joseph were straight homies, right? And God made it so that everything Joseph did was absolutely bomb. Now, Potiphar saw that God made everything Joseph did absolutely bomb. So he was like, ayo, Joseph, what's crack-a-lackin'? He's like, I'm gonna make you the head of all my household, okay? Now you're in charge of everything. Sick. So Joseph was in charge of the whole place, and sure enough, everything was absolutely fire, because when the praises go up, the blessings come down. Now, Joseph was a good looking dude. It was a whole 3-course meal. Joseph puts Noah back to shame. Sorry, Noah. And who noticed that Joseph was one tasty piece of ass? Potiphar's wife. This cannot go well. Bible Stories with Liv, the story of Joseph, part 4. So Joseph is a snack and a half, right? And the wife of Joseph's boss, Potiphar, takes notice of this, and she waltzes up to Joseph one day, and she's like, come on, sleep with me, Joseph. And he's like, dude, no. And the next day, she's like, just sleep with me. And again, he's like, no, okay? And the next day, she's like, sleep with me. And every day, he's like, bro, no, I'm not gonna sleep with my boss's wife. That is so messed up. Come on, Joseph, just sleep with me. And she grabs his sweatshirt. What? No, let go of me. She's like, no, let go. No, just have sex with me. And he wiggles out of the sweatshirt and he runs away butt naked. Buck naked? But I don't know. And Potiphar's wife has the sweatshirt in her hand, and she quickly devises a cunning plan. She takes his sweatshirt to her husband, Potiphar, and she's like, Potiphar, yeah, what's up, baby? You know your servant Joseph, the one who you put in charge of, like, everything? Oh, yeah, I love that dude. She's like, he just tried to sleep with me. What? He came into my room, and he took off his sweatshirt, and he was about to do some nasty stuff to me when I screamed out, no, yes. I screamed out, and he ran away, but he left his sweatshirt behind. Potiphar was pissed. How dare my trusted servant try to sleep with my wife? That's my wife. Joseph! Whoa! And Potiphar. Today's story comes from the book of Genesis. So this was way at the beginning of time, and everyone spoke one language. One language was spoken, only one. Hello, good sir. Do you understand me this day? Why, yes, I do. Well, good day. And everyone just vibed with one language, and God was like, yeah. Then these people on earth were like, hold up, wait a minute, I've got an idea. What if we built a tower that was so freaking tall that it reached heaven, and then everyone will be able to see us, and our names will be on billboards everywhere, and everyone will know us and worship us because we're the freaking best. They were all like, bet, let's do it. And so they start building this tower essentially to be God. And God is like, bitch, are you? You gotta be kidding me. And he goes skadoosh to the people. Let's see what happened. Floggen snart deloy pleitoscopen. Gereda. Snart deloy pleitoscopen. Blaro sevia com kimienta. Fladendaro. Gleigenschnu. Ere plajo tomaverit. Fleikenro. Tanto rosca. Jere clavonissimo. And no one knew what anyone else was saying. That's why they call it the Tower of Babel. Because they were all babbling. Do you get it? No? Okay. Well, also, that's why we have a bunch of different languages today. Because forever ago, a bunch of dudes tried to one-up God. Bible stories with Liv. Today's story comes from the book of 1 Kings. So there's a super wise king named Solomon, right? And one day, two prostitutes come up to him with a question. Let's call them Sandra and Debbie. So Debbie's like, Solomon, listen, okay? Sandra and I both have a baby. And Sandra over here accidentally killed her baby and then swapped it out with mine. Tell her to give me my baby. And Sandra's like, Solomon, she is lying, okay? The living kid is mine and the dead kid is hers. And Debbie's like, no, the living kid is mine and the dead kid is hers. And Solomon's like, it's a sticky situation we got here. All right, tell you what if we just, catching my drift? No. What if we just, and Debbie's like, are you talking about chopping my baby in half? And Solomon's like, well, yeah. And Sandra's like, well, it sounds logical to me. Well done, king. Well done. Thank you. And Sandra's like, no, okay, I'm sorry. Just give her the baby. I'd rather him not die. And Solomon's like, aha, Deborah, can I call you Deborah? With Liv. Today's story comes from the book of John. So there's a blind dude, right? And everyone knew him as that one blind dude that was like super blind. And one day, Jesus and his disciple squad were walking by and the squad was all like, yo, J-Dog, who sinned to make this guy blind? Was it him or was it his mom and dad? And Jesus was like, homies, it's neither. This dude is blind so that God's works can be displayed on him. And they're like, oh, okay. And Jesus is like, watch this, y'all. And he spits on the ground, like, he spits on the ground. And the blind guy's like, whoa, y'all, did you just spit on the ground? They're like, yeah, he just spit on the ground. Blind guy's like, okay, just checking. And Jesus starts making mud with his spit. And they're like, interesting. And Jesus is like, okay, take off your blind person glasses. And he's like, okay, and he does it. And then he puts the spit mud on his eyes. And everybody's like, ugh. And he's like, bro. And Jesus is like, okay, now go wash it off. And he's like, okay, you literally just put it on me, but okay. And he washes it off and he's like, oh my gosh, you guys get in here. And they're like, yo, what? He's like, I can see. You cereal, dead grass. And then the Pharisees, who were like the super duper religious dudes, saw the whole thing. And they were like, Jesus, did you just work on the Sabbath? That's against the rules. Stories with Liv. Today's story comes from the book of Genesis. So y'all remember my guy Abraham, right? So one day God's like, yo, Abraham. He's like, what's up, God? And God's like, okay, listen, the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah are super duper evil. And I have decided that I'm gonna destroy them. And Abraham's like, okay, listen, I'm with you on this, except my nephew Lot actually lives there and he's a good guy. And God's like, yeah, you're right. Well, as it turns out, Lot and his family are actually the only good people in the entire city, so I'll save them because I love you, homie. Aw, stop it. I love you too, G-man. So God sends two angels down to Lot, and the angels are like, Lot, so God sent us to tell you to take your kids, take your wife, because God gonna be destroying everybody up in here. And Lot's like, oh shoot, yeah, okay, honey, what? And angels are like, now bro, time is of the essence. Right, okay, here we go. So Lot and his wife and his daughters leave the city, and God starts raining literal fire on Sodom and Gomorrah. And then the angels are like, oh guys, one more thing. God told us to tell you to not look back at the city, like at all. And they're like, yeah, okay, that's cool. And Lot's wife is like, I could take a peek. And so she peeks behind and she immediately turns into a literal pillar of salt. Lot's like, huh? Bible stories with Liv. Today's story comes from the book of Luke. So Jesus is telling his disciples that they should love their neighbor. And one of them's like, okay, dumb question, Jesus. Who's my neighbor? Because I live in a condo upstate. And Jesus is like, you know what? I'm going to tell y'all a story, okay? It's a metaphor. They're like, metaphor, facts. Jesus is like, okay, once upon a time, there's a dude traveling through a really sketchy part of town with a little rat-ta-ta-ta action, you know what I'm saying? And he actually got mugged and he's just left there to die. I've been left here to die. Oh, no. Oh, yes. But then a priest walks by. Oh, phew. But the priest actually just goes around him. Aw. But then a Levite walks by. Oh, Levites are homies, yes. But the Levite just goes around him. Oh, rats. But then a Samaritan walks by. Ugh, Samaritans. Important side note, everybody hated Samaritans. Absolutely despised them. So let's call him, I don't want to name any real people, so let's call him Donald. So the Samaritan Donald walks by and he sees him and he rushes over and he binds up all his wounds and he gives him water. He even puts him up in a really nice hotel. Like no Motel 6 type ish, like a Hampton resort with a continental breakfast. And then he says to the hotel manager, take care of my guy. Whatever you need, just do it and I'll pay for it. And the manager's like, bet. Bible stories with Liv. Today's story comes from the book of Luke. So Jesus is like, what's up, squad? They're like, what's poppin'? J-Dog's like, I finna tell you guys a metaphor story. And they're like, duh. And Jesus is like, once upon a time, there was a dad with two sons, Kevin and Dave. And Dave is all like, yo, pops, give us each our share of your property. And dad's like, okay, sons, here you go. And Dave's like, let's go. And he immediately goes and he sells the share away to gamble and get absolutely plastered and basically squanders the entire thing. Then a famine strikes in the land and no one has any food, including Dave, because he threw away his fortune to literally turn up. And he ends up working for a pig farmer and eating with the pigs. Finally, one day, he's like, gosh, I'm so stupid. I need to go back to my dad. And he goes back home. And as soon as his dad sees him, he leaps up and he runs to him and he hugs him. And he's like, Dave, you're back. I can't believe it. And his dad throws him this huge party. But Kevin, on the other hand, was not so joyous. Kevin went to dad and he was like, Dad, are you being dead grass right now? I've been here this whole time. And then you throw a party for Dave, the screw up of the family. And dad's like, Kevin, you don't get it. Dave was lost, but now he's found. That is a reason to celebrate. The end. I don't get it. Ugh.